lanes, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no, I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capping space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
well, hey there. Welcome back. Welcome back for our recap of Belle Collective. He Says, She Says podcast of Belle Collective. Season 2, Reunion Part 2. How you doing?
This is the finale. I'm doing good, Aubrey. Doing great.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The Part 2 of the reunion. Absolutely.
Yep. This is the finale.
There, Monique. Yeah. Yep. This is the final episode for this season. That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking too? It's interesting because
what's that?
I think we were speaking to DJ Quicksilver. He said that Love and Marriage DC is coming back. They had 10 episodes the first season, and they're going to have 22 for the second season, which is a huge jump, right? And so I'm thinking Belle Collective had 10 episodes for 2 straight seasons. Are they going to grow the third season? That's what I'm interested to find out.
Oh, wait a minute, you saying as far as like Belle Collective, what will they do?
Are they going to have more than 10 episodes? The first 2 seasons were 10 episodos each or something like that.
Right. So, that's true. Yeah. That's true. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Just my personal thoughts on it at this point. They don't have enough things going on, and it's going to be interesting actually to see how Love and Marriage DC, how they develop theirs out to 20 seasons. But I can see if they follow some of the main characters in terms of their career and take us into their workplace or their entrepreneurial business, that they will have, they could create more episodes. And then I think DC is going to have to bring in some new characters or new castmates.
Yeah, I think they're going to add a couple.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see about that. We talk about that with
Clifton and Joy.
Yeah, we talk about that. I was going to say about with Quicksilver, if you would just not interrupt me so much. This is really not cool. But anyway, yeah, we talked about that with him. So you guys, if you haven't seen it already, definitely go back and check that interview out. That's a very good. When you said that was a very good interview.
Oh yeah, Ellen V agrees with me too. She's in the chat. She said DJ Quick's interview was a good one.
Oh, hey there, Ellen V. Shout out to our one of our other members and moderator extraordinaires. Good to see you always. Ravine, don't come in here now. Where was you yesterday with our Ready to Love? Okay, we were looking for you to defend Samson. Where were you?
Yeah, Ravine, we needed you last night. We were waiting for you.
Where were you? You were being requested by Jeremy and some others, and myself included.
Yeah, because we was on Samson last night, so they were waiting on you, Ravine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For real. Wow. Well, next Sunday,
oh yeah, because that'll be the finale episode. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll have the reunion. So we look forward to you being there on next Sunday, Ravine. We're sure you won't just hide out in the bushes.
Right.
You wouldn't do that, would you? Oh Lord.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, but we'll go ahead and get started with the first note card, if you will.
Yeah. Let's see what stuck out to you this episode of this reunion part 2.
A few things. So we open with the results of, I'm gonna call him Slick Glenn.
Slick Glenn.
I gave him a new name, Slick Glenn's paternity DNA test results. I thought it was an interesting reaction to the results, and wanted to know what Glenn was celebrating exactly. What were your thoughts? We see they got the results. We see that also the interesting thing, of course, Letitia, she was so nervous. That leg of hers was going 100 miles an hour, just shaking and vibrating, and she was just, just shaking it. And I felt bad for her. I felt bad for her, like really bad for
Yeah.
her.
Here's the thing. Glenn kept saying, I told you, you told me what?
Exactly.
The fact of the matter is you're still a cheater. You still had the paternity in question all this time. So I've been living with this, Letitia, been living with this all these years when you could have just been done this. So she was like the weight of the world was on her. And after the results, everything just came out. Because even though she says she forgave him for the affair, and if a baby would have came out of it, she forgave that too because she forgave the affair. That is still an enormous thing for a wife to deal with. An outside child that her husband made, to accept that. Because then the child has to come around. He got to bring the child to the house. So regardless of what she say, I think all of that came down at that moment. I don't have to worry about this child no more. I don't have to worry about this woman no more. But I still would have to worry about my husband's fidelity. That's what she's torn up at.
Right. Is he going to be a faithful man from this point going forward? Is he going to be a support? What about this? Is he even going to be a supportive husband? He doesn't seem to really support her in her dream and her goals. For me, looking at it from the outside, I'm not in their marriage, obviously. And this is just my opinion, but he doesn't seem to be really supportive. But the thing about it, I feel like he's there now because he see her on the comeuppance and he wants to be a part of that. It's just very Glenn is, to me, appears to be a very selfish individual.
Well, think
Very
about this.
selfish.
Think about this, Aubrey. He couldn't deny the attention he was getting before Belle Collective. Okay, so now with the attention he's getting from the show, the constant DMs, the size H breasts he's getting in the DMs and all kind of stuff, he's not going to be able to resist that. He's just not going to be able to do that. I don't think that's his makeup. I don't think he can do it, and I think he's gotten away with it so long that he has a certain comfort level with getting away with it, and Letitia forgiving him.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's gotten away with it, and then we see that basically she had taken him back, and then she went right back and found out that he was talking on, chatting up, and in the DMs, and looking at people's breasts and not blocking people like he should have. We know that people get in your DMs that you may not request for them to be there. They may have ulterior motives, but the easiest thing to me in the world on social media is to block anybody for any reason. And I'm quick to do it too. Like, say the wrong thing, offend me, start talking crazy, block, 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 block,
And this celebrity, is not for the faint of heart. This instant celebrity, it's hard for some people to deal with. A lot of people can't deal with this, and I don't see him as a person that can really deal with this as far as the influx of attention from women. I really don't. I don't see that happening. I don't see him being faithful. I would like for Letitia to come on here and speak with us now that the season is over, and get her take on it. I would love to speak to her. I would love for our audience to be exposed to her and talk to her. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because we're going to talk about it a little bit later toward the end of the this episode. Apparently she's got an upcoming book coming out. So hopefully she will come and join us. I know her people have been talking back and forth with you. So I would love to have her on because I'd like to hear more about this book that she's written. And, I kind of would like to really hear her thoughts on, where she stands with her husband, she's going to try to see if she can patch things up, because I'm like you though. I honestly feel like, and I never, anybody that knows me in real life knows that I'm very supportive of other people's marriages, the institution in general, and people having happy marriages. But I'm like you. I really don't see this man, her husband, Glenn, is changing.
Yeah, and this is not. It's not even a thing where I dislike Glenn. I just see him for what he is. This has nothing to do with, oh, we just out to get Glenn, we're gonna talk bad about him. And no, you have to see people for who they are. I had a discussion with a friend of mine some weeks ago, and she was going through a difficult relationship situation. And she said, "Oh, he's changing. They've been together quite some time." And she said, "Oh," and she started to distance herself and sleep in a separate room and all this stuff. And she says, "Oh, but he's changing." I said, "Well, first of all, I said, listen, he has to change for him. If he changed for you within short time, he's going right back to the same behavior. I guarantee you. That's the cycle.
Wow.
He has to change for himself because that's a character flaw. That's an integrity issue. He got to do that for himself. If he's just doing that to hold on to her, it's not going to last. It's a Band-Aid. And I think that's what's happening with Glenn.
I don't see him even taking responsibility for the cheating, because this whole thing about how he was celebrating the victory that wasn't his baby. Well, what you don't even need to be celebrating that. You need to be intelligent and smart enough and emotionally intelligent to know that you could have just sat back and just dealt with your wife, the fallout with your wife, because honestly speaking, we wouldn't even have to take this test if you weren't messing around. If you weren't cheating out there, wouldn't have had to take the test. It wouldn't have even been an issue, right?
Right.
So you really don't have anything to celebrate either way, regardless of how the test results come back.
And that's the point I was making earlier. And that's before the celebrity. So now you're somewhat of a celebrity. So it's not going to get any better, in my opinion.
You know what? You got a good point. You got a good point. Well, so let's see. I say move on, Letitia, or expect to get more of the same. And that's I hate to say that, but that seems to be what it is. Carlos, and one thing I love about this is in this episode, Carlos gets very emotional as he checks Glenn, and I call it a check, even though it was a refined check. He basically let him know that many women, and he's seen it in his own family, that many women put their needs and their dreams aside to help support their men emotionally, sometimes financially, in all different kinds of ways, just to be there for their man, their husband. And that for him not to basically take, I'm putting this in my own words now, but for him, Glenn, not to take his wife for granted, because she's a jewel, she's a treasure, but he doesn't seem to get that.
No.
And so then we move on to the men's fishing trip, where Glenn says that everybody who's black has a big nose. No. The man is just not wise about anything. He's not wise about relationships, and he's not wise about being black either.
This one, they was flashing back to the fishing trip.
Yeah, that comes up. So I kind of wrote my little notes on that. Do you agree with Glenn? Does everybody black have a big nose?
No, not at all. Nope, not at all. That's like saying everybody black eats watermelon and fried chicken or whatever. So where did that come from? I don't know. But there's some black people that don't eat chicken and watermelon.
Yeah, so. It's a stereotype. And I made note of the fact, of course, I had to make note that Willie is cute. Willie Cologne, that is.
Yeah.
And then we get on to moving on. The men start talking about Carlos asked Cliff if Cliff slept with JJ's ex, and Cliff very, very, very smartly says, well, no, I didn't sleep with her. I was wide awake.
Right. Yeah.
And so, Carlos King wants to know, Cliff, are you gaslighting me? I thought it was funny that he said best friends, best friends. So, all of that, I don't know what the story is, but it seems to me like, I don't know if this how big of a town Jackson is, but seems like everybody's kind of double dipping in that town.
Yeah. And the thing, and this was of course way before Latrice, because because Cliff and JJ go way back, and he admitted he did it. He said, "Yeah, I did it." He said, "But this is way before Latrice. I did it, whatever." How, like you said, how small is that place? Everybody's double dipping. It seemed like, but JJ finds it hysterical. He laughing and you know how JJ is,
Yeah.
So
what I find hysterical is JJ had them braids and had barely any hair on the top of his head. I'm like wondering, it's like a man that does the comb over. I'm wondering when he gonna let that all go.
That's that Stevie Wonder do. That's what he got.
Oh no, It's something. It's something. It's something. Okay, so then we move on to uh now we move on to Tamra's quest for a baby with Demand of all people. Demand and his body language, I find that very interesting whenever his body language and his responses when he's asked about this decorator Taisha. Did he have relations with her? Did he kiss her? Did he date her? He continues to say no, but that body language of his is saying something completely different.
Yeah, and he has Tambra convinced because she's saying she's seen receipts and she didn't see anything in the DMs. One thing they said that may be valid though is that you'd be surprised the shenanigans of what people would do to try to get on television.
Yeah.
And they said a lot of this came up because she's trying to get on the show. She was trying to get on the show and get a storyline. Obviously she was friends with Marie and Letitia already, so she's trying to get on the show. You know what I mean?
And her comeuppance down there in Jackson, I can see it. I can see that.
Because I really don't see the sense in Damon lying about it. If you and Tambra was not together, that's all you have to say. The same way Cliff said to JJ, yes, I did. When y'all broke up, I slept with the woman. I slept with your ex or whatever. And they laughing about it.
Yeah, I guess, but it's I'm kind of a catch-22 on this one because I feel like Tambra, the way she keeps getting so hyped up, and usually she's kind of laid back about most things, but she gets so hyped up about it. I'm not sure if she would just really go off. It seems like there's a lot of, for me on the outside looking in, again, it's just my opinion, seems like with Tambra it's a lot of vanity, a lot of ego involved in this whole thing. Like I don't know if she thought this man was supposed to be sitting there twiddling his thumbs on the years, the months, the days that they weren't together, they were officially broken up. You know what I'm saying? And then I don't even understand the concept. Again, I'm just going to keep saying this. I'm going to keep hammering this home as long as we're talking about this. I don't understand the concept of grown people, grown adult people over the age of 22 or 23 making up and breaking up off and on for 16 years. I don't understand that concept because to me, you don't really need to be together. Whatever is breaking you apart each and every time after a couple of times, call it over and done. That's what I would say. Like, what is it about each other that you find attractive, but then you keep repelling each other away, kind of like a magnetic repellent,
Right.
You're attracted to each other, but is that just because you're the only two good-looking people in this town? I don't know. They're single. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't seem like Jackson has a lot to offer in terms of variety.
Well, Carlos called Tambra to the carpet and said, usually more a little bit laid back type, but something about this woman, something about Taisha that brings this out of her, this venom, this vitriol. It gets her hype. So he asked her, what is it? And she was just saying that this woman just started this recently. She called the producers to say, she said Taisha called the producers and said, I got something on everybody on the show. That's the rumor. And Carlos was like, well, I didn't get it. Maybe the other producers got it. I don't know. Carlos King seems to not know what she's talking about. But they said this was a ploy to get her on the show. But if you ask me deep down, I think her and Greedy did something. I really do. And Tambra has no case because she was engaged to a whole nother dude. They break up, get together, break up. So if they was on a break, it doesn't matter who he slept with. That's why I don't understand why would he even deny it?
Why doesn't he simply say, well, you know what? Yes, during the time when Tambra and I were on a breakup, those multiple 16, 17 times, because how often do they break up? Every year? Do they break up right? Like a lot of cheap guys, do they break up right before Christmas and Valentine's Day? Does he take a break off like for 6 months between November and
between holidays?
March? A lot of guys do that crap. So like, is she allowing him to do that to her? And then, again, I don't understand her rationale as a reasonable, intelligent, college educated woman that if you wanted to have children, then why did you wait so far into this late date in your life, and then you want to have it with this guy who you're off again, on again with. So what happens when the stressors of marriage or no marriage and pregnancy and a baby is actually here? What happens to you two when those stressors come into your life? The little tiny stressors that you had before, you think those were a big deal. Wait until you have a baby with this man and see don't all your emotions come up to the surface and you end up broken up again. So what is the point?
Right. And I agree with Ellen, because he never did answer the question to, did you ever
I want
kiss
you to
her?
read that.
You know,
Yeah, what's up with that? I noticed he never did. He said no, I didn't date her and this and that, but he never did answer that question.
But you know what they're gonna say? Editing. I did answer it, but they edited it out. So that's probably what he's going to say. So I don't. And we spoke about this. We'll put a ring on it, Aubrey, with the two people from there who had the baby. I can't recall their names, Otis and Shalana. Okay.
Oh, and, right. What do we say about them?
That bringing a baby into an already damaged situation does not heal the situation.
Oh, okay? Right, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I don't understand what these people that do this breakup makeup, what do they think they're going to do when a real stressor of a baby, because babies are, believe it or not, as beautiful and wonderful. We know they're a blessing. We understand that. But babies are stressors, because you know, for months and months and months with the average baby, you don't even get any sleep. So now you're walking around like a zombie trying to go to work on maybe 1, 2.5, 3 hours of sleep. You're snapping at your mate is snapping at you. So you guys were breaking up over what stuff I do not know, but now you're going to bring a baby into the mix and you think that y'all going to actually stick together? I don't see it.
Aubrey, quick funny story. When I was in my first marriage, I had my daughter Aisha. She was an infant, okay? And of course, infants don't sleep. So there will be times when I would get up, other times my wife would get up, whatever. But there's been nights where we were just both so exhausted, and my daughter would be crying, and we'd be like we stretching, trying to elbow and kick each other, like who's going to get up first? You know, like we tired, we stretching, we hitting the other one upside the head, like you get up, no, you get up, trying to do, because we just were so exhausted. That's stressful. You know, these people don't sleep. It's like you lay them down for an hour, 30 minutes. They, you know, that's just to bring that into a broken situation. No.
Yeah.
No, that's why I was so concerned about Shalana and Otis from Ring on it. And I wonder how they're doing. I do think about them.
I do too. I see them. They're still, they're still flashing on social media. So they seem to be still together. Beautiful baby that they have. Can you read that comment that I have on the screen from Monique King? And
Monique King says, "Career first, family later. The plight of the modern woman." Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree, Monique. That's a true balancing act. I just think that a wise woman tries to find a balance, and there are a lot of women out here, young modern women, that are managing to do both. But part of the secret, I guess, if it's not really even a secret, but part of it is as a woman, recognizing what your limitations are as far as your body and being able to produce your own children. Now, if you want to adopt children later, if you want to foster children or whatever, but if you plan to use your own DNA and have children, there are limitations to the average modern woman that may not have access to millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars for IVF and all these different modern solutions that they have for women that wait until their 40s to try to have children. You just have to kind of have that, find that balance,
And also too, there are tremendous challenges for older women get to carry children. So if they want to put their careers first and chase their careers well into their 40s and start thinking 45, 46, I'm going to start thinking about having a baby. Challenges come with that as far as carrying this child and things of that nature. So, we can't just look at people like Janet Jackson and go, "Oh, she was 50 years old. She had a child." She got the very best of everything at her disposal. She
got the very best. And the man she was married to, I think, is a billionaire. And she's a multimillionaire. So, right. So, but that's just, that those are just kind of some of my thoughts on it. But, people are free to make the choices they make, and then they have to live with them too. So,
but that's what I'm saying, Aubrey. They should try to understand the challenges ahead of time, have some foresight. And that's that's a lost art form, having foresight.
You're right. If Taisha could have said, because there's something that Glenn said. I'm kind of trying to quote from this, and if Taisha could have said this, this is Glenn talking about Taisha now, saying that if she had something to say about he was cheating with her or having a relationship with her or having an emotional connection with her, he says that she could have said this 4, 5, 6 years ago. I'm thinking the same thing applies to him and Tambra working on a marriage and a baby. That could have happened 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Nobody ever says how old Tamara is, but I really would love to know.
Well, she's in her 40s.
Looks like sure.
Yeah,
like
I would
not even early 40 either.
Right, I would think she's in her 40s. I would think.
I would think so. And so I asked the question, why now? Why now? Because you guys are on a show. Is that why?
Well, you brought up a good point before, Aubrey, because the death of her grandmother, may have something to do with that.
I felt like when they brought that into the one of the episodes early in the season, I felt like, I really felt like one thing about Tamara I have to compliment her on. I feel like she has a very close-knit, strong family unit, like a lot of support behind her. Her mother and father are both still living. She just lost her grandmother. I think you said her grandmother was what, like
99.
99, almost 100 years old. So obviously has good genes in her family,
right.
for as far as longevity. And I feel like it was and even Greedy or Damon talked about how tight knit her family was and how much he felt a part of it because they're a very warm, welcoming family. So I feel like, that might have been maybe the push for her, the final push, but I don't know. It just seems like she has a lot of barriers and I'm not really sure where that comes from. And we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get into that. And of course, we talked about Taisha, the decorator, maybe wanting to be part of Belle Collective. So we'll move to the next one. And then I just asked a question: is Taisha the only decorator in Jackson, Mississippi?
It's possible. It's possible.
I mean, I'm beginning to feel like this is a one traffic stoplight town. Like, do you just drive through and there's no traffic signals and
I've been to Mississippi.
Are there horses and buggies? What's going on in Jackson, Mississippi?
Do they only got shotgun houses?
Really?
I don't know. That's why I'm being facetious like you are.
Oh, okay, but you said but I've never been there. That's kind of crazy because you've been there. I've never been there. Even though one of my closest friends lives there, I've never been there. What is it like? Were you in Jackson?
No, I was in Mississippi, but I was not in Jackson.
Okay.
I was in Mississippi, but not Jackson. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's known for being a sundown town historically from back in the day. So.
We see that Glenn's brother was actually married to Taisha too. So
that's we go funny
with the double dipping.
Yep, there we go. That's funny. That is funny.
Mm-hmm. And then I asked the question: did you really understand what Glenn meant when he said he couldn't defend himself against the lies that Taisha was talking about? I don't know.
Glenn or Greedy?
No. I'm saying Glenn, and I mean you're right. I mean Damon Greedy. I mean Greedy. You're right. You're right. Yeah. Did you understand what Greedy meant when he said that? Because I didn't understand.
Well, what he was saying was, and to some degree, you have to respect what he's saying. He said it took him a while to really say anything because he didn't want to come right out and be disrespectful to women. He said it's hard for him to disrespect a woman, so he didn't want to come out and just go at her like that until it just got so ridiculous. He had to say something. It's like, why won't she stop? So it does get to a point where a person has to defend themselves if it keeps going. But he said he let it go on long enough. He didn't want to come at her and be disrespectful because, he don't disrespect women like that. So.
Yeah, but I kind of don't understand why not just address the topic and not the person. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to call her out of her name. You just simply deny that it happened, or or like you said, if it happened while they were on a break, you tell that part. But I don't know. What do I know? I've never been on a reality show. I really do not know these things.
And we know, the ongoing theme. We did a lot of these interviews now is, they edited that out. It was editing. We know that already. So.
Read what Ravine S says. And hey, Roro.
Ravine S says the fact that his nickname is Greedy estimates too much. Yeah, he is too much. What does greedy mean? Why is he greedy?
Yeah, that's what I've been wondering. So where did that greedy come from? Because he's not like he's an obese man or anything. Right. So I'm not really understanding
And it took Tambra a while to answer the question. Were they having unprotected sex? She danced around that for a little. Why would you dance around that? Either you are or you aren't.
Now that I kind of took that as that's kind of, and I know this is a reality TV show, but there's some things that I don't want to talk about publicly, and certainly not on TV. But I thought what was funny though, and that's what I want to hold that thought for just 1 second. I want to just talk about this. Why do you think Glenn said unfortunately when he was asked?
Greedy said that. Greedy said that. You keep saying Glenn.
What did I say? I got it on the card too. Okay, well, Greedy, you're right. When Greedy said, when Carlos King asked Damon whether they were living together, he and Tambra, he said unfortunately, and he said it more than once. Now then Tambra jumps in with an explanation of why he said it, but what I would like for her to do, what I love for her to do, is stop answering for her man. He's a grown arse man. Allow him to speak his mind, and then you might actually learn something if you listen more than you speak.
Right, because he said unfortunately, and then he kind of put his head back and wiped his brow, and everybody looked at him like, really? And then she kind of jumped in and was going, oh, because I'm OCD and I do this extra, I'm extra on everything, and he's trying to get used to that. But well, let him say that, because it could be something totally different than what she think he said unfortunately for.
That's what I'm wondering. That is really what I'm truly wondering, because like I said, it's something for them to keep breaking up over a 16-year span, off and on, off and on, off and on. You better find out, Tambra, what it is this man don't like about you, because he may not. It might be a Samson and Cherie situation. He may not even like you.
Well, she needs to check herself too, because she was engaged to a whole nother guy. Why didn't that work out? So this goes for both of them. I'm just saying,
but right now it doesn't really matter about the other guy, because right now the guy that she's living with is Greedy.
It matters with her mindset, and both of their mindset. You see what I'm saying? So what, like you keep saying, why now? Why in your mind do you need this now, as opposed to the last 16 years? That goes for both of them.
Well, yeah, and that's true too. And that's another thing. That's the question that I would really love if Tambra was to ever come on here. That's the question that nobody's really addressed. And I know the show is not about Greedy, but I'd like to know a little bit more about his background. Has he been married before? Does he have children? Because at his big age, you would think that he would probably have children already.
Yeah, they never mentioned it.
If he wasn't with her, he was with some other woman. And, is it possible that he has children?
Anything's possible. They didn't even go anywhere near into that kind of story.
Right,
so it's a good question.
I'm just wondering, because, But anyway, Willie Colon and his wife, Akeisha, talk about the culture shock from moving from New York to the SIP. Willie says he's used to his corner stores for a slice of pizza and a soda. Instead, he gets offered pig ear sandwiches down in the SIP. You can talk about that a little bit. You were a guy from New York.
Yeah, he was saying how, and it's true. You come out your apartment building, you come out your home, and you got stores on every corner. They're open all throughout the night. You can grab a slice of pizza, you can grab a hero sandwich, or they call them subs out here, but we call them hero sandwiches in New York. And you sit out there and you talk to your people. And you talk to the wee hours of the morning, and you go home and everything. He said they don't have that in Jackson. And, one thing about big cities like New York, we get very, very spoiled, because anything we want any time of day is at our disposal. And when you go to some place like Jackson, everything is closed at 8, 9 o'clock at night or whatever. You can't go out, everything's a car ride away, so that's an adjustment for a big city person. And that's what Willie was saying. By the way, I love the way Willie had his hair. Somebody did his hair real nice, nice and tight,
Oh, yeah. Now, he had the look that I think maybe the other guy, JJ, might have wanted to have or had maybe back in the day when he had a lot thicker hair.
Yeah. But Willie had his hair tight. But that's and then he had he was lined up. He was edged up right too. He had the thing shaped up perfectly. He had his hair done right. So, but yeah, I can understand missing that big city living, because everything is at your disposal. I actually go and get haircuts at 3 o'clock in the morning. So you go to a place like Jackson, and at 9 o'clock you can't get anything. You better get it before you get in the house, because otherwise.
Okay, wait a minute. We gotta go. We gotta backtrack. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. And we'll come back to that. But read what Monica's. You know, she's in these YouTube streets, and she would know an answer to my question I posed just a moment ago. Read that.
Yeah, Monique
Please.
King says, I know he doesn't have kids. Tambra mentioned it last season. I think that's why she's hanging on. He's 1 in a billion.
Okay, there are some men out here without children. Okay.
At that, but what she said, at that age is hard. At that age,
yeah. That's a good point. I don't know about 1 in a billion. Maybe a 500,000. I don't know. Oh, really? Okay. Oh, I see now. Okay, so that does make a little more sense why she's hanging on to him. Because I was thinking that was the other thing, Monique, to your point. I was thinking to myself, if somebody waits to Tambra's big age to have children and have her first child, okay, my thing would be it's always a joyful, exciting event to have a child, whether you're 25, 35, 45, whatever. But if I'm 45 and I'm having my first child, I wouldn't suspect or imagine that it will be just as important to the fellow if he has 1 or 2 other kids already. You see what I'm saying? It's not his first child. He's maybe going to be excited, but it's old news to him. You see what I'm saying? So my first child, I would want to have the same experience with a partner. It's also his first child, right? So
right.
that I can see now. I do see his stock just went up. Now finding that out that he doesn't have any other children, his stock just went up. I could see her line of thinking on that. So that's where she's a little more rational. But I just
okay. because the idea of dealing with possible baby mama drama is so unappealing, and I think that's another reason why Letitia was shaking so much, because she's like, when she dodged the bullet, or I guess Glenn did, or whatever, she don't have to deal with baby mama drama or the potential of it. Not saying a woman would have been drama or even wants Glenn or anything like that, but the potential of it is there, and it's stressful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, and I don't know. I think that's a big part of it, but I also think that a lot of women that have waited their whole life to get their career wherever it was, like to LNV's point, that career, the modern woman, or was it Monique that said that earlier? I forget. I'm sorry.
I think it was Ravine. Yeah, I think Ravine said that they choose their careers.
Monique, modern career first, family lady. I think the point, what I was going to say though too, besides the baby mama drama, I think that the point goes back to it's all about that purpose of it being his child, his first child, your first child, because you're never going to feel the same experience of having a first if it's a second or third. It's just not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Yep.
So we'll move forward. Back to the banners here.
I can't do the pig ear sandwiches. I said that before in an earlier podcast.
We had that discussion. Yeah. Just eat you some hog head cheese. You'll be fine.
No.
Yeah. Thoughts on Latrice and Cliff's debate about having a baby. So here we go again with a baby. Right. Now, of course, Latrice is quite a bit younger than Tambra, obviously. Thoughts on Latrice and the Cliff's debate about having a baby now or not. I was kind of glad to hear him say he finally just kind of gave in and said that he's going to be happy no matter how God blesses them, that he understands, even though I could tell that it was with reluctance he was saying it, but it did seem like he understood that his wife, she doesn't seem like she's emotionally, mentally ready to be a mom right now. And I think he's finally understanding that. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, they're rolling the dice, because you remember they took a pregnancy test in one or two episodes ago. Okay,
I remember that, but
so nobody's protecting themselves. If she doesn't want a child right now, she needs to take precaution. Otherwise, they're rolling the dice right now.
I think he needs to take precaution.
Well, somebody does.
But they both do. That's right, because he wants one. He wants
one. You see what I'm saying?
So she could be, take the pill or whatever.
Be a little proactive.
There are a million ways to prevent it. Yeah, there's a million not a million, but there are quite a few different ways. So yeah, but certainly the pull-out method doesn't work. We all know
No, that
that.
withdrawal method doesn't work,
Uh-huh.
But what I was interested about was that she said he doesn't understand what it's like not having a dad because he's always had his father,
Yeah,
and
that got
and
kind of emotional at that part. Thank you for
yeah,
bringing that up.
and she believes that's why she dated an older guy. She looked for an older guy, for that kind of fatherly lover type, kind of dynamic. Which is interesting because I hear that from a lot of women, who didn't have their fathers. But at the same time, what I've also heard from women who had great fathers, they still look for their father in other guys. They're like, I had a great dad. This is what I know. So if the guy I'm going to marry is not like my dad, I can't be bothered with that. So it kind of goes hand in hand. The women that didn't have a father growing up look for a dad, and the women who had great fathers still look for their father in their potential spouses. So I've seen both sides of that.
Well, yeah, and I think we need to clarify something. I think that women look for their father. I think that's it's kind of a metaphor. And so, because I know the other day, and this has been back a couple weeks ago, Jeremy was in on this discussion, and he was just really grossed out by that concept or that phrase. I don't think that people. I don't know because I don't know what it's like to grow up without a dad because I had a wonderful dad in my life. I'm gonna say that, but I don't think that actually women are looking for their fathers. I think that women are looking for a man who is a man's man, who is a leader, who is take charge, where they can feel safe and they can feel protected and provided for. I think that's what most women, many women want because society has given us that concept that that's what a man looks like and that's how a man moves in the world.
Yeah,
And
but
I
but
agree. I agree with that concept. I agree with
but
that concept.
if they haven't seen that behavior in their life, in their house growing up, they don't know what to look for. And the ones that do know what to look for because they've seen it, they don't look. My dad did A, B, C, and D, so I know you're gonna have to do that. Otherwise, this ain't gonna work. So I think imagery is everything. When you see it in your own life and you've seen your mother being taken care of, you've seen your mother protected, you've seen that, then you know what a man is supposed to do. But if you've never seen it, you just don't know. Especially if you're from a neighborhood where there's no mentors, nobody steps up, your uncles are trifling, you just don't see the type of man you need. Then you out here just basically fishing, is what you're doing.
I'm not really sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying that for those women that grow up that didn't have the father figure in their home, nor did they have a father figure even in their life, maybe an uncle or a grandfather, someone that came around often enough or had them in their home to watch them and their wives interact so that they could see this interaction that they now don't really know what to look for. Is that what you're saying?
Right. They out here fishing. They feel in their heart what they would like, but they've never seen it. It's different from a young girl that grew up in a household and she's seen it every day. My mother feels safe. We always have food. We got a nice house. We got clean clothes because my dad looks out. My dad is this. He's Superman. It's a much different outlook that she has than a young lady who didn't have it to see every day.
You know what? You do bring up an interesting point, but I could say that in actuality, those of us that grew up with a decent and good dad in our home and grew up with that role model, you still are fishing either way because let's face it, when you get out here in the dating marketplace, oftentimes what you meet and see and you're exposed to is a person's representative and not the true person,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
So we don't really know until usually months, years later, who the person that we're settling in with, whether we're moving in, living together, cohabitating, whether we're married, we oftentimes really don't know who these people are.
And sometimes you don't find out till years later because people can hide who they are for a long time. I mean, it would shock you how long people can hide who they really are. It's
Yeah,
crazy,
yeah, yeah.
And and in my own case, Aubrey, real quick, my dad was not around. I didn't have a father figure. I had uncles and older cousins, but they were running women and stuff like that in the streets and stuff. So I didn't have really any positive male influence or mentorship in my life. But when I decided that I was going to start having children, I was going to be there every day, every step of the way. I made that decision. And that's because I know how I felt not having my dad, and I did not want to visit that on my children ever. So I decided that I'm not going to be him. I'm going to be different. So it can work that way depending on a person's mindset. You have to get your mind in the right place.
That's powerful. That's powerful that you were able to overcome what could have been maybe a generational curse of men repeatedly fathering children, and then the children they father go on to father more children, and once again you got that cycle because they're not there for their children, and now the next third, fourth generation, on and on and on, right?
Right.
That's
That's right.
powerful that you could speak on that. That's really very powerful.
Yes.
Ravine says, I'm sorry, yeah, Uran says real man mentality, Alex.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was thinking about something else too about this, and then we'll move on to the next one. But Cliff, I'm glad he's kind of accepting it, even though he sounds reluctant, because I'm thinking, well, go ahead and continue to parent the other five. And I understand they may be older, because apparently I think the youngest girl is in college, so that means the other ones are all adults
Yeah,
too.
they grown. He got grown kids.
Well, yeah, but you know what? It's always time that you can spend with them. And if you got that much time and that much energy and desire to parent, maybe look into volunteering at some youth facility. And like what you're saying, because what I'm seeing about Cliff, he's a straight shooter as far as a guy, from that cast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of things, because he really got on Glenn about, starting that mess when their son was having the birthday party, Letitia and Glenn's son. So I feel like Cliff would be a great mentor. He can use a lot of that fatherliness that he apparently feels, and take that down to somebody to help out, elsewhere. You get what I'm saying? Until his wife is ready to have, a child with him.
And like you said, grown or not, you can always spend time with them. My daughter and I, she's 31, and we still go to the movies together every now and then. We saw the newest Jordan Peele movie just a couple of months ago. So my son and I, when superhero movies come out, that's our thing. That's our tradition. He's 25. We go. So you
wow, that's neat.
Yeah, you still can have that quality time with them, even though they're grown, as you alluded to. So I agree with that.
You just gave me a great idea for my son. You just gave me a great idea. We haven't caught a movie in quite a while. That's a great idea. Mm-hmm. And so, talking about blended family, something else you're also familiar with, blended family issues and the sisters getting along. Talking about now JJ and Sophia's, blended family. They're married, and she had 2 children from her previous relationship, and I think he has 3 girls from his previous marriage. And now these girls are, stepsisters. So trying to blend them and trying to get along. I love that this show covered so many different topics like this that people are actually dealing with. Mm-hmm. And that, unfortunately, there seemed to be maybe some past envy, just some differences of opinion, some differences of coming out of different households. So you feel differently, you move differently. But one of the things that we're going to talk about, what do you feel about the colorism that the girls were talking about, colorism within the family?
Yeah, this is I wish we stop it, Aubrey. I mean, the girls are not that much shaded differently. They're really not. If you look at all of them girls,
that's what I kept thinking. I'm like, really? What are we really talking about here?
Right. But so Gucci's daughter, Sophia's daughter, says, light people get, the brighter you are, the better you get treated. Now, unfortunately, in many cases, that's true. But it's time for us within our community to stop it. We have to stop it, because we didn't create that. Okay. No. That's historical. That comes from something else I don't want to get into right now. Okay. Yeah. But we have to stop it. It was put on us to behave this way, and we have to stop it, because it doesn't make any sense. We're all facing the same challenges, whether you're brown, caramel, mocha colored, double fudge, whatever you are. If you black,
double fudge.
If you black, you facing the same challenges and running the same race I'm running. So we have to stop and learn how to support one another and put an end to this colorism thing. I mean, Marie, as old as she is, was throwing that shade out there about light colored eyes and
Yeah, the
light
light
people.
color eyes.
And
That's what I wanted
and
to
and
get into. And
and,
then
and
I
this
got one other thing on it. Go ahead.
yeah, and this is how it goes from generation to generation because people don't stop it. At some point, it has to stop, and then it won't get
Right.
passed on to the next generation.
Right. Yeah. I say, and this is my limited view take on it. I say that to me, for me, it does not matter. But I am open minded, and I do understand that actually it has affected a lot of us, a lot of black and brown people, and it has affected our children. And I think that Sophia had a good point that she never really thought, about sitting down and talking to her daughter about complexion and colorism. And her daughter may have never really came to her. Like a lot of times our children go through things and they don't know what to bring to us and what not to bring to us. Is
Mm-hmm.
mommy or daddy going to get angry with me if I bring this to them? Are they going to be upset? Are they going to be hurt? Are they going to think, this or that or the other, right? So a lot of things they don't bring to us. So we have to be cognizant to try to have opportunities to have open conversation and dialogue about things that are issues out in the larger world, because they do kind of affect us and come home to us. Because our children, many of them, they go out to school where they're surrounded by all different types of people of all different shades and races and ethnicities. So quite naturally, things like race, colorism, uh, social status, things will come up, right?
Yeah, Aubrey, this is very personal to me as well because, like, my life is really an open book. I mean, people don't need to know everything, but there are things in my life that I would love to express to people and let them see. Because I met my first wife when we first met. She was 16 years old, very dark woman, very pretty girl. Okay, but she had an issue with being dark. I just had to struggle with her for years and make her understand how beautiful she was. It took years, Aubrey. I kid you not, to make
Really?
her to make her understand you are a beautiful dark skinned woman. If you weren't, I wouldn't even be with you. Okay, take the light skin stuff out of it. Take the long hair out of it. You are beautiful. And then we
Hmm.
had our daughter, who's a dark skinned, beautiful girl, woman like her mother. But
Hmm.
she also dealt with it. I had to continue to teach her. You a beautiful woman, and I've been through this. And
Oh wow.
that's why I'm sitting here regurgitating this stuff because it's kind of sickening at this point.
Oh wow. I never knew that. Wow. And that's a lot. And I found out something. My own daughter, who's biracial, I found out many years later, she's already was already an adult. Some of the situations that being biracial, being light skinned, how that affected her, by or people, talking to her about things. I know for a fact, one day I was at one of her ball games and one of the kids asked me, what color is her father? And I said, he's skin color. He's flesh
Yeah.
tone.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Right.
really, you asking me that, but um, there are a lot of people, I think, because as parents to children, sometimes we don't talk about race, we don't talk about um, color, we don't talk about people being biracial, and many of us as Black people actually have a lot of various uh, ethnicities within us, right?
Mm.
And then people don't even understand. Sometimes I'm really flabbergasted that some Black people don't even understand how it works to be a Black Latino,
Right.
and what that means. And
Mm.
people say, well, oh, that just means they're lighter skin or they have wavy hair. But no, it's a whole culture. It's an
Mm-hmm.
ethnicity, and it's a whole culture behind that.
Dark skinned Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, darker skin. You see it all.
Yeah. So
And with your daughter, it's like a situation where you're not white enough for white people, you're not dark enough for Black people, so you're stuck in a prism. You know, and that's not a good place to be in for a person who struggling, growing up. You're
you
very
have
you're,
to.
you're very impressionable growing up.
Yeah, well, we all have to, as parents, we're charged with the duty of giving all of our children, our boys, our girls, our sons, our daughters, with something called self esteem and
Mm,
pride, and the ability to think outside of the box and to understand that no matter what someone thinks of you, if they have a problem with racism or sexism, that's their issue. and not to allow it to become your issue.
Right. And that was
Uh,
the struggle I just alluded to with my first wife from her teen years right up through my daughter. Okay. Same type of things I was just saying. The struggle I was having with that.
Wow, that's something. Well, I want to also talk about there was something else, and this was interesting. I never thought about this. That the girls had an issue possibly too with the celebrityism of it all for JJ's daughters who have been on international TV. I never thought about that. Did you
Yeah,
catch that? Did you
I
catch the
did.
fact that
I
they have
did.
the limelight on them? So it's not just even the colorism thing; it's the fact that these girls have a following, maybe have a fan base, or that they get attention maybe differently than Sophia's daughter when they were out because people actually recognize them. What do you think? How do you think that might have affected the stepsister relationship?
Yeah, I think it did have an effect because JJ said it, and I think what was the show? Bring It On or something like that, or
Yeah,
something.
something
Yeah,
like that. Bring it on.
yeah, some kind of cheerleading show or something
Drop
like
it
that.
down, Monique or Ellen. Drop it down in the
Yeah,
chat if you remember the name of it, okay? Because we're not
yeah,
very familiar with it.
because that could definitely create jealousy because now they have sort of a celebrity moniker attached to them, and if she's already dealing with the other daughter that's been left out of that, if she's already dealing with the colorism, now on top of that, you're dealing with the fact that they're celebrities, and getting more attention than you are, or whatever. And then on top of that, she's the one pregnant, kind of thing. So it's totally different direction than these other ones are going in. They're at universities, they're in college, so
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot there that really
Mm-hmm.
got to be worked out. There really is.
To that point, read the comment that Monique has just made on this on the screen. I think she brings up a point of why some of this was going on,
Yeah, I think
or
she's
how
addressing something Roro said. I watched an interview with her, and she admitted that she dropped the ball. I guess she's talking
meaning
about Soguchi. Um,
Sophia.
Sophia,
Yes.
yeah, said she was focused on the marriage, not the kids. Well, that's a big mistake. That's a huge
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah. I was just thinking that too. I
Yeah.
mean, I think, and to be fair, I think she has to focus on both. And it's a lot. We know as women, we carry a lot. We got to deal with these crazy men. We got to deal with these crazy kids. We got to
Mm-hmm.
deal with these crazy jobs. We got a lot on us as women, and more importantly, also, or as important, we have to also do self care so that we're
Mm-hmm.
not pouring from an empty cup. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
yeah, but I could see that she got married and she was focused on the new marriage, focused on the man, and maybe not. I'm sure she cared about the kids and focused on them to a certain degree. But then another thing about it, when your kids get older, a lot of times parents forget about the fact that once our kids can tie their shoes, can walk themselves to school in a group, or do certain things, we forget that they're still learning. There's still a need, well up into the 20s. There's still a need for us, like you said, to parent, even the young adult children, to
Yeah.
teach them things, to share things, to check in on them and see how they're doing. Because I don't see how they never really talked about what were the issues between these girls, whether it was
Right.
colorism, whether it was celebrityism. Um,
And I think that when you first fall in love and maybe you haven't been with anybody in a while and you get hit with that love bug, what I'm saying, it's very intoxicating, okay,
mhm,
and you just want that feeling. You want to keep this feeling like this might be the person, and you
mhm,
want to focus the energy and you're feeling good and you want a high, the elation of being in love, and it distracts you from your other duties. It happens quite often.
and read what Roro is saying because she's answering the question we
Oh,
had about
Bring
the
It.
show notes.
Rose says Bring It is the show. It was
Yeah.
about girls being trained and competing in majorette dancing. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is big. My cousin down in Texas was a majorette, and she was like a local celebrity at the time. Years ago when she was 16 years old, and she could twirl the baton and do all the dances. She was a local celebrity. She was hot stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very big deal. But we continue on. We got that. So we'll move on to the next card. And last but not least, Marie is battling her lupus. She's raising her grands and being just a busy, businesswoman, a successful businesswoman, I should say, but I don't have space for all of that.
Right.
Plus her mom having a relapsing drug addiction. So she's dealing with all of that. But all in all, we get to the updates, but she's doing well and thriving. We found out that Letitia is actually working for Marie. Letitia has is helping out with some of the group homes, and she's a manager, and she's also finding the property, and she's doing things within helping her friend Marie out. Um, Sophia is now taking her brokers, which I wanted to just jump up and applaud her. I thought that was so cool. To be a real estate broker is a really big deal. So she's moving up from being just, from being an agent to also being a real estate broker.
Right.
We find out Akeisha, of course, has partnered with some other women, and that she's trying to bring back all of that district or all of those blocks. I think, several blocks, and they put a plan on the mayor's desk, and they're waiting for approval and the go ahead for that. So she sounds like she plans on being there. Um, Latrice is has bought a building, and she's getting ready to start. She's using this bigger building to grow her goddess length hair business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Sophia
And
showed her the building, I believe.
Sophia, yeah, I think you're right. Sophia did. So Sophia is growing, her business is growing. And last but not least, Tambra is doing well, and she's traveling the country, and her radio program, her afternoon radio show, is growing really large. So
Yeah.
what were your final thoughts about these women and their success?
Well, I want to address Marie because of all the women that are on the show,
Hmm.
okay, I really would love for Letitia and Marie to come talk to us.
Mm.
Because Marie's story is so deep with everything she has going on, and I'm proud of her for what she's done, what she's doing with her businesses, the resilience that she's displaying with the lupus, and still carrying on, taking care of her grandkids, and being there for her son or whatever. Um, but I really wish that Marie, and I'm not sure if she's going to ever do it, just stop adding extra stuff on your plate. I know you love your mother. I can't tell anybody what to do about their mother, but I've just seen that so many times in my life. I know how that ends, and it's hopefully not. Okay. But I don't want her to get distracted so much trying to focus on helping her mother that she lose sight of the true goal. And the true goal is to get some of the younger people who may be on this and not been addicted as long, get them on the right track as quickly as possible. The
Hmm.
great Frederick Douglass has a great quote. He said,
What's that?
it's much easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Okay.
Wow.
So her mother has been broken. This is an elderly woman at this point who is still a drug addict. So at this point, it's like, what are you supposed to do? Go focus on those kids. Go focus on the youth that you can still save and have a greater impact. Don't get distracted with your mother. I know it's hard to do that, but don't get distracted with your mother. I would love to talk to her about a whole lot of stuff, honestly.
Meaning Marie. Yeah, yeah.
Marie,
It's
yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot, and I can only I can't. I'll be honest. I can't even imagine. Really, I
Mm,
cannot.
mm,
What it's like to have a mother that's or parent that's on something that they can't seem to break away from.
mm,
But I have had I do have friendships and relationships with people who have children that are addicted to substances,
mm.
and that is so painful to watch. So I can only imagine what that would be like to grow up in that and be a child. What was the other one you were saying about maybe Letitia? You want to have her
Yeah,
on?
I want to have
Okay.
her. I want to have her on because I really want to know what her mindset is. What's traveling through her mind as she, navigates her way either out of this relationship with Glenn to move past this after so many years, since she was 17 years old, which is very difficult because that stuff is embedded into her psyche. That relationship is in her spirit. It's inside of her. So it's hard to remove yourself from that. Okay. And
Hmm.
Glenn knows it.
Yeah, I
That's
think
why he keep playing these games. Oh,
17, since they were like 16, 17 years old.
right.
I think that she should just really sit down with a therapist and start to work through that. I think that she should put up some boundaries, and if she's not ready to divorce him, she should legally separate, change the locks or whatever, or stay with her mom. I mean, there's just, if you're going to break up with somebody, if you're not going to be with somebody, they're not healthy, you really have to make a decision and make that shift, make that pivot, make
Start the
that turn,
process.
start the process, right? Start the process, and move forward, because he's out there. It seems like to me he's just out there doing whatever he wants to do with whomever. He's
Mm-hmm.
got people in his DMs and he's looking at their breasts and responding back and whatnot like that. Let those women have him. All the women that are throwing themselves at him in the DMs, half of them might be catfishing. Somebody sending him a pair of naughty pictures. That
Mm-hmm.
may be a guy.
Yeah, right,
You'd be surprised. You think this social media is so great. You got people in your DMs, but half of them aren't even real. So I mean, if
right,
you think, I always say, what was it? Was it Leon Coker that used to say for Chrysler, if you think you can get a better deal, then take it. Take
right.
it. Think you
Yeah.
can build a better car, build a
Mm-hmm.
better woman, find it. Because Letitia, she got it going on. She came back
Yeah,
strong. She's lost weight. She's working
yeah,
out. She's taking better care of herself. She
right.
looking good, and she is in a creative space, and she is uh uh a businesswoman, successful entrepreneur, and on a hit TV show that just got renewed. You're
Yeah.
not gonna find nothing better than that down in Jackson, or too much of anywhere else.
And every
So,
season they get renewed, that their money go up, and the more success they have, I mean,
mm,
the more viewership come in, thanks to podcasts like ours, to get the viewers there, and we covering the show and bringing more attention to it. If it keeps getting picked up, the money going to keep going up, for them.
oh,
That's how
oh,
that works.
yeah, there's another one of our moderators extraordinaire. Hey there, Jay Wadley.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he
Jay
says,
Wiley.
he
He went.
says, read that.
Yeah, he said Jay Wiley says I would like to hear an interview with Marie too, etc. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. But I think Arkisha um had made a great point because she dealt with this way before Bell Collective. She had an NFL husband. You know what that's like, okay?
Mhm.
And she spoke
We
about
need
that.
to get her on the show too. I
Yeah,
think she would make an interesting interview.
yeah, she spoke about that. She said, "Listen, my husband was in the NFL. We know how women come after these professional athletes and things like that." And she said, "Listen, for me, he know what he got home. That's on him to mess that up. I'm not going to
Right.
argue with him and fight with him and none of that kind of stuff.
Right.
I know he's facing challenges from the women coming after him, but
Right.
that's his decision to make. He know that I'm not going to deal with it. So if he mess up, he already know. You get caught, I'm done. So it
Exactly.
gives him a lot to think about. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So,
Mhm.
but she's been dealing with this way before Bell Collector. So she knows. So this stuff with Glenn is nothing to Aikisha. She's been dealing with NFL girls. You know what I mean? So totally different.
Tell our viewers, we're getting ready to wrap things up, guys. We want to thank you. Well, first, but tell them about what's going on your channel before we wrap up.
Yeah, magnetic repellent. I'm doing a lot of great shorts, you guys. I'm covering my trucking career. I had a trucking career, some years ago. I made short videos of me on the road, so I've been posting those, and of course, I'm posting my longer videos of my political commentary, my financial commentary, trending topics, all on magnetic repellent. You guys go over there and subscribe to my channel. It's growing. I'm very proud of what's happening over there, and I appreciate all you guys' support. So just continue to support, and I'll continue to do the best I can to bring great commentary to you guys.
Good, good, good. And yep, again, tell them the name of that again, your channel.
Magnetic repellent.
Right, right. Magnetic repellent. And Monique so graciously put the link down in the chat. You guys
Yeah,
can pick that up and maybe copy and paste that real quick. Guys,
yeah.
I want to thank you all for being here. I hope you've had an opportunity to hit that like button for me. Please drop down later and leave a comment after the video is posted shortly in a little while. We really appreciate you being here. We wouldn't want you to be out of all the places you could be on YouTube. You picked our spot, our home to come into, and we enjoyed your company. We enjoyed you in the chat. We've got an interview coming up tomorrow. Tell them about tomorrow. We got the interview coming up with Kayla. Is it Kayla?
Yeah, Kayla tomorrow from Ready to Love. Miami. Kayla's coming to speak to us tomorrow. The interview is at 7 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. So be here. Hit that notify so you'll be notified when we're about to start tomorrow's interview with Kayla.
Yep, that's right. We'll be back tomorrow. So we'll see you guys then. And until then, stay safe, okay?
All righty. Good night, everybody.
Good night. We're out.